Welcome back to Fast Money. Crypto seeing a major comeback after crashing over the weekend. Bob Pisani's at the New York Stock Exchange with more. Hi, Bob.
Hello, Melissa. Bitcoin's been on a wild ride this month. It's down almost 30% over the past 2 weeks, but it's finally got a little bit of relief today. Coinbase shows the cryptocurrency has risen more than 12% from yesterday. That would make today Bitcoin's best day in 2 months, believe it or not. So why the rebound? Cryptos could be getting a bid after an international watchdog said digital currencies are not a near-term risk to the global financial system. Finally, somebody said positive things. The Financial Stability Board said that crypto assets do not pose risk to global financial stability at this time, in part because they're small relative to the overall financial system. Bank of England chief Mark Carney noted that even at their recent peak, the combined global market value of cryptos represent a fraction of the world's economy, less than 1% of global GDP. And he noted that blockchain, the underlying technology behind cryptos, has the potential to improve the world's financial system. Improve! Some see this as a turning point for how world regulators might view this space. But don't make any mistake about it here. Bitcoin's still firmly in bear market territory. We're down about 60% from the peak near 20,000 in December. And that's nothing new. Bitcoin's seen 4 bear markets since it was created in 2009. And there's plenty of headwinds ahead, of course. Twitter, you know about this, planning to ban cryptocurrency ads from its platform following similar moves by Facebook and Google. That ban expected to be announced soon. And President Donald Trump just passed an executive order banning any transactions with the U.S. that involve digital coins issued by the Venezuelan government. But at least today, there was a little good news from the regulatory front. Back to you, Melissa.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Bob Pisani at the NYSE. So is the Bitcoin bear market over? Let's check in with our resident Bitcoin baller, Brian Kelly, who is all the way in Hong Kong at where else? A crypto conference. He joins us now over the phone from the swanky Mandarin Oriental in Hong Kong. BK, good to have you with us. It seems like every social media platform has already banned ads. Maybe the worst is over in terms of the impending regulatory threat. I mean, the G20 is basically backing away from new regulations. Is the worst over when it comes to this sort of headline risk in your view?
Yeah, I think from the regulatory front, it probably is. I mean, we've had the SEC talk about having all these exchanges register and having all the ICOs register, which if you're security, you probably should. So what we've seen over the last 6 weeks is the exact opposite of what we saw in December, which in December we saw FOMO, the fear of missing out. This is FUD, F-U-D, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I think we're getting some of that out of the way.
So, and when you take a look at Bitcoin's performance, do you think it is the bounce because of getting those things out of the way, the regulatory risk? How much of it do you think was the market's decline today?
Well, I think over the last 24 hours or so, we've had some panic sellers in the market. You've seen some people who raised money in Bitcoin and Ethereum for their ICO, dumping their Ethereum and Bitcoin. So those are somewhat price-insensitive sellers. It appears for the time being they are done, and I really think that's what's causing this shorter-term bounce in Bitcoin.
Have you bought?
I bought a little bit the other day, rode the dip down over this weekend, and still hodling.
Still hodling.
I don't understand this hodling thing. But that's okay.
You can ask BK a question.
Can I ask BK a question?
Please.
So BK, Bitcoin as we stand here is 8,500. A year ago, you know exactly where it was. I guess my question to you is, are we looking at the price action through the wrong prism? I know you can't counterfactual stuff, and it did trade 20,000. But from point A to B a year ago, the move in this, despite the sell-off, has been quite staggering. You would have signed up for this, my sense, a year ago. So are we looking at it incorrectly, I guess?
Well, that's a good point, Guy, because a year ago, I had a price target for Bitcoin of 2,500 or so, and that was Bitcoin was below 1,000, and I was, a little shaky about even putting that out there. So you're right, and I think that is also what's going on as part of the sell-off here. Remember, there are a lot of people who made an awful lot of money over the last year riding Bitcoin from below 1,000 up here, riding Ethereum from $7 up to $1,200 or even $600 today. They've made an awful lot of money, and then add into that the little pesky thing called taxes, and you're going to have to do some tax selling here. So I think you're right, Guy. I mean, coming back a bit and looking at where this asset has been, it's still performing quite well.
All right, BK, we're going to let you go. Safe travels.
Thank you.
Brian Kelly calling in from Hong Kong at another cryptocurrency conference.
Yeah, 3 in 3 weeks. Do they trade the currencies or they just talk about them?
just talk
I mean, I'm
about
serious.
both.
Like travel the world.
I mean, you can trade electronically anywhere, Dan. Get with it.
That's true. From the M bar on top of the Mandarin Oriental. Here's the deal. I actually think, I think that regulation, I think it's too early to say that we're probably done near term. I think that while that comment caused a short squeeze, I think you're going to see, I think it's probably sell the rally sort of situation here. And Guy's point about this was below, what, 1,500 a year ago, this thing has lower lows. And it's not going to turn around until it really capitulates. So to my eye, that October breakout at 5,000 is probably the next stop on the downside.
Look, we may have lower lows until we hear what investors want to hear on regulation on that front. But I look at it and say what Facebook, what Google did essentially by coming out and saying we're not going to allow them to advertise on the platform, the fraudulent ones and the ones that are deemed good ones. To me, that's very defensive, in my opinion, because these are disruptive technologies that are going after the disruptors. So the Googles, the Facebooks of the world, all these companies are going to be attacked by a lot of these ICOs that are coming out, a lot of these coins. So I look at it and say them not advertising is a very telling sign to me. This technology is real, and it's going to be here for a long time.
It's morning! It's morning! Brian, call Skyler, Luke, Deegan, and Brock. We're going to Buffalo Wild Wings tonight, baby!